Have you ever found yourself discouraged about the Christian faith because you've heard in the news about a Christian leader, someone who's prominent, highly visible, and it turns out that person was sadly not the person that many people thought he or she was, and that there's been immorality, there's been character flaws, there's been behavior that really isn't appropriate. We've seen this most recently in the scathing report about the leadership of the Southern Baptist Convention and the sexual abuse and the cover-ups and the intimidation and all that happened in that denomination, sadly, for many years. Well, when you find yourself being discouraged, whether about something like that or unfortunately a scandal that's happened with many people involved with Hillsong, which has produced so many wonderful Christian contemporary songs, we can turn to 2 Corinthians and know this is not a new phenomenon. It's not a new situation. In fact, in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, Paul is writing in response to people who he calls in verse 13 false apostles, deceitful workers, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. And our verses for the day are verses 14 and 15, where Paul writes, "And no wonder, even Satan himself disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is not strange if his ministers also disguise themselves as ministers of righteousness. Their end will match their deeds." It's heavy and doesn't bring me any joy to say, as someone who's been a pastor and so a Christian leader in a very small way. I'm not a public figure on any kind of broader platform or anything like that. But it doesn't give me any joy to say that sadly history shows that there are people, and often not insignificant people, who share the name of Christ, who use the name of Christ, who use ministry not for godly purposes. And in some cases, Paul would say, they may even be ministers of the adversary because of what they're doing and the damage they're doing to the genuine church of Jesus Christ. It's really important to be discerning about who you listen to from a faith perspective, because not everyone who quotes the Bible is righteous. Not everyone who preaches or shares God's word is doing God's work. Some of them, sadly, may be simply serving their own greed, their own ego, their own lust for power or other things. So we have to be sober, and we have to be clear-eyed, and we need to evaluate people. Does their character match what they profess? Is this genuinely a minister of Christ, or is this someone who is a charlatan? That's what Paul's warning the church about all those years ago, and we still need to be on our guard in our own time.